What is up, guys? This is Drew with Comics Elite. I'm going Han Solo today. Sean is running from the authorities. Something about taxes being not paid. He's on the run. I don't know. I can't explain it. And Kyle, I guess Chris Hansen is looking for him. Like there's like a To Catch a Predator special going on with Kyle, and they're trying to find him. And he's hiding out on the West Coast. So hey, you got me. I've got a normal life. I'm not in trouble. So it's like, hey, okay, I guess I can do my picks, my skibits and mez by myself. So this was a very interesting week. I have a lot more skibits than mez. I do have a top 10, which is very good. But there's a lot of skibits here. I got a lot. There's a plethora, if you will. But let's start with since it's just me, we're gonna do all this in one video, and hopefully my picks, my choices will maybe reflect yours when you go to the comic book shop. Maybe you'll take my words and choose wisely, or you'll not choose wisely and choose some of the ones I skipped. But regardless, I've already read all these, so I'm going to give you my picks starting now. So starting off with the mez. This is the mez for the week of 11/16/21. First meh I've got is Fantastic Four, King Size Special #1. So this was a reproduction. It's like what they did with Captain America #1 or Giant Size X-Men #1. It's a retelling of that issue, but they have a different artist doing a different page of the book. Now, my problem is a lot of the artists in this book suck. That's the problem. I mean, what was great about Giant Size X-Men is that you had legit talented artists working on it. In this, you don't. I mean, these are C-listers at best, maybe B-listers, but a lot of the guys they have working on this, it's like, really? You couldn't get Mark Brooks to do one flipping page. You couldn't get Stegman to do one page. It's ridiculous, the names that are involved with this. That's why it's a meh. It's a retelling of Fantastic Four #1, and you bring in the C-listers to retell that story. And you don't even have Jack Kirby. You don't even have a Kirby page in here. Just Kirby doing one page. Just putting in one original page. Nothing. It is a shame. It is a sham. But you may like it for the C-listers. I didn't. That's why it's a meh. Fantastic Four #1. Nightwing 86. Nightwing number 86. Meh. Read this before you read Batman. That's the only thing I'm going to say, because DC does a piss poor job of expressing that. It's all a setup for the next part in Batman, only to explain how Nightwing and the others get their armor. Spoiler alert. That is it. It's a meh. Read it. I guess if you're loving Fear State and think it's the bestest ever, you'll probably enjoy this issue. Next up in my mez is Robin's #1 of 6. This was okay. It has a very, how should I say this? It has a very juvenile approach to it. It comes across as very, the case in point is the dialogue. The dialogue is very childish in this, very cutesy wootsy. It kind of condescending to an adult if you're reading this. It's also an intro for those who don't know who the Robins are. And the ending, all I'm going to say is the ending to this, it's like, okay, explain yourself. Provide me a good explanation to this character and how this is possible, which is why it's a mess. It's a very curious ending. So I'm hoping Tim Seeley is able to provide a good explanation to this character. If not, it may just quickly become a skip it. My next meh is Captain Rao, #1 from Scout Comics. So it's one of those titles and a character where it's like, I assumed it's from a video game or something, but I don't believe it is. I think this is just completely new. We're literally thrown into the middle of a war, and this commander is sent in to take down a baron, and this is the first issue, and I have no idea what's going on. And it's a one-shot. This whole issue was one big, what? Huh? Just a lot of confusion and a lot of questions for a one shot. It is a huge mess. This comic is a mess. The art is okay, art is good, but the story is just what go. Let's go back to one real quick. I understand there's a commander, but can you explain why she's doing this, please? My next meh for the week is King Spawn number 4. So in the story so far, things are going from bad to worse. Now Mother Nature is getting involved, and we're going to be heading back to the origins of our own Spawn, Al Simmons, in Botswana, which is very interesting. So I'm curious to see what old demons are going to be dug up from there. It's an interesting read. The art is different and unique, like Jason Sean Alexander. But it's a lower. It's a meh because there's an odd scene with a child, like legit a child, like younger than 10, probably 6 or 7, and this child is given a huge, like a massive assault rifle from She-Spawn to start shooting people with. It's like, whoa, this is a bit odd and much. I can understand maybe a teenager, but I mean, a child holding a massive assault rifle that's like 2 or 3 times the size of her and shooting it. There's something a bit off here. It's still an interesting enough read, but that it really does stick out. If your brain is on, it really does stick out. Speaking of odd, Radio Apocalypse number 1. This fell out of my top 10 because I just read stuff and just got slowly bumped out. The art in this is, I can't begin to describe this art. It's either going to be atrocious or interesting or different. A collection of all three. I don't know. Perhaps it's a reflection of this post-apocalypse story. I'm not sure. But even amidst this ugly art, there's an endearing story here buried in it. Just don't get sucked into it. I mean, you'll probably vomit when you look deep into this art. The story isn't met because, I mean, this does, Radio Apocalypse number 1 does have a heart in there, you know, in this apocalyptic world. So Ram V apparently said, I guess he made this with music on, and I'm wondering what music he was listening to when he made this. I don't see it, I don't hear it, but sure. My last meh is S-Word number 10. Sorry, Sword number 10 from Marvel. One of the most unexciting, undynamic covers ever. In-Hyuk Lee, I love you, man, but this cover really, you just can't. You can't. There's a reason why Professor Xavier has never been solo on a cover. So, a lot of my concerns and questions about this person on the cover are answered in the first few pages. One thing I hate, this is a side note, one thing I hate is the character Cable smiling. He should never smile. He shouldn't be smiling as often or as frequently as he does in this comic. It is odd. It's like seeing Batman smile. It shouldn't happen. It's not right. Get it out of there. Then where this story leads by the end, I'm happy, and then I hate it right after. I am so happy where it heads, and then I immediately hate it because it went from a double cross to a triple cross, which in my opinion is goddamn stupid. Stick with the double cross. Now you're getting into the Sting 2 territory. If you're not familiar with the Sting 2, it's a notoriously horrible film. And this writer, I think it was Jerry Duggan, made an incredibly horrible decision. Should have stuck with a double cross. And those are my mez. Now on to the skip-its for the week. I had a lot of skip-its. My skip-its totaled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 skip-its for the week. Great Googa Mooga. All right, we're going to go through these one by one. My first skip-it of the week is Aquaman, The Becoming. The coming number 3. Oh, The Becoming number 3. This sucked. This truly sucked. The art is very inconsistent and not good. There's pages early on where Aqualad is supposed to be mortally wounded, but he looks just fine. I've seen mortally wounded in comics, and No, he looks fine. He's got scratches. He's going to be fine. He's going to live. And eventually it leads to more family drama. And shocker, he has a sister. Not Jackson Hyde. No, he can't have a sister. Who gives a shit, really? I mean, I couldn't care less about Jackson Hyde or the fact that he has a sister now. Yay. Skip it. It's not worth your time unless you're a diehard Jackson Hyde fan, but I don't think there are that many diehard Jackson Hyde fans out there. Okay, next up, my skip it is Batman Secret Files: The Gardener, #1. So finally, we get the origin story of the most uninteresting and least impacting character within Fear State. This should have been titled "Who Gives a Shit?" Seriously, #1. You do not need to read this at all. It's all in Fear State Batman. It's all in the Batman Fear State main title. You do not need to read anything about this. The art is terrible, and hopefully this character is swiftly forgotten after this. This is so much bad with there's so much bad with this comic that I don't even know where to start. Mostly about Ivy. It's mostly about Ivy and not mostly about Ivy and her lesbian relationships. It's combining, and another thing I hate is like when you combine every character in a DC universe that has something to do with plants to one university and office at one time. I hate that crap. No, there is no making the universe smaller and putting all these key characters together at one place at one time. No, it didn't happen. I refuse to believe that. It never happened. That is stupid. It's right up there with what James Tynion did with the Joker in the last issue of the Joker, tying in his Iran missile stealing with this agency he's with now. No, it's stupid. Don't do that. Oh, next skip it. Batman 117. All I'm going to say is, so on one hand, we finally get Batman fighting, but he ends the fight fast. Unfortunately, fight ends very fast. Second, he took off his damn mask in front of a psychopathic terrorist. I could not believe that. And took off his mask in front of a terrorist. No, he would never do that to someone as mentally unstable and villainous as her. No, you really think you can trust her with your secret identity? No, he's more likely to trust a gas station attendant than her. I couldn't believe that at all, and thank God Tynion is going to be gone after this. So many bad decisions were made in this book, in this series. Whew, my God, vaya con Dios. Have fun in your next career after DC. Wonder Woman #1, Evolution. So this comic commits one egregious sin, which makes it skip it. Wonder Woman would never consider letting a young girl fall to her death to save a villain and maybe a friend from being a villain. Never. Wonder Woman would never consider that. She would save the child over that any day of the week. This, no, as a completely egregious sin. Oh, and the art was very odd in this too, by the way. It's odd is the appropriate word. You read it and judge for yourself. I was left bewildered by it. Next skip it is Nubia and the Amazons. So Sean says it best. Boring. Nothing happens in this at all. Just women talking and more talking. It gets to a point in this comic where we're in a literal office on Themyscira. An office on a mythical ancient Greek island of godlike warrior women. What the shit is this? No. It's like a bad parody of the Flintstones at this point. Clearly, these writers only write what they know, which is spending too much time in an office, maybe a therapist's office. No, this comic is beyond boring. I could not believe it. Superman, Son of Kal-El, #5. I can't begin to explain how frequently I was yelling out loud while reading this. What? No! A super person would never do this shit. no matter how much his powers have been amped up. Never. Look, I couldn't care less about the kiss. It's clearly unemotional, unimpactful. Tom Taylor can't write romance for crap. It's everything else in this damn comic that's stupefying, between ripping out a bridge, thinking there's only one hospital in Metropolis, Superboy wearing noise-canceling headphones, and thinking he's the only hero to work overseas. No, there's just too many logic fallacies in this comic. It is a bad comic. Skip Superman Stone of Kal-El number 5. No. Next up, my skip it is He Who Fights with Monsters number 3. We have this Jewish monster called the Golem, and finally the big reveal: the Golem. He's here, and he does nothing. He just stands around and talks with the Jewish people about life. That is it. And then it's just a melodrama about relationships and the Golem giving the guy advice. And I don't know what the hell this is. This comic sucks. He Who Fights with Monsters number 3. This comic is terrible. I can't begin to describe how disappointing and angering this comic is. Next up in my skip, it's Gun Honey number 3. She has achieved Mary Sue status at this point as of this issue. She is now officially a Mary Sue. Perfect in every way. Can't get hurt. Knows everything. And can take down guys 200 pounds heavier than her. No struggle. Not interesting. And not worth reading. If there's no struggle, there's no drama. If there's no chance that this character could be hurt, there's what is the point? What? Just read Captain Marvel from 3 or 4 years ago and you're all set. Justice League 69. 69, dude. Once again, non-stop blabbering and dialogue about who's behind a new world order. Just nothing but talk. That is it. This was a very boring and very unfunny comic. I'm not just exaggerating in these comics when I say there's a lot of talk going on. There is a lot of dialogue going on, and it's clear a lot of these writers can't tell action stories or action scenes at all. Don't want to tell action scenes. They just want people talking. It is decompressed storytelling at its apex right now. We have achieved full apex decompressed storytelling. This is terrible. Skip Justice League number 69. Darkhold, the Wasp, number 1. So there was a nugget. There was a sliver of a good idea here. And another question I have is, maybe someone out there in the comments can help me. When did Kang become an empath? I didn't know Kang was an empath. I didn't know he was like Donna Troy from Star Trek, Next Generation. He could sense people's feelings. I didn't know that was one of his powers. And another thing is, I've known scientists. Scientists have to take off rings and various metals when working in dangerous labs. That is normal. Janet is a reactionary idiot. There we go. This is another Marvel comic that was just so goddamn incredibly boring. Nothing mattered until the last couple pages. Everything beforehand was just blah, 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 blah. My life as a wife, Avenger, and millionaire is so terrible, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing new brought to the table here except for a hint of something from Kang, but it's swiftly forgotten. It's a sliver. There's a nugget of something good here, but they ditch it for the talking. Screw this comic. Screw it. Darkhold Wasp number 1. Not worth it. Not worth your time. And the art is terrible as well. Speaking of terrible comics, Amazing Spider-Man 78 Point Bay. I know it's supposed to be Point Beyond, but Bay? 78 Point Bay? Sure, whatever. Hey, remember when this was about Spider-Man and not Charlie's Angels? Wow. And there's a line of dialogue in here. Describing a character born without brakes, BRAKES, describing a character who is not a car or a bike. What the shit does that mean? She's a car? You're comparing her to a car? You're making her a thing? Sure. Another thing I hate about this comic, Amazing Spider-Man 78 Point Bay, is that it treats Ben Reilly like he was never Spider-Man. It never had spider powers before. It never fought supervillains. Like the 90s, early 2000s, never happened. He just appeared now. And effectively, they treat him like an idiot while all the women in the series are the bestest and smartest ever. That's not an exaggeration in the least. This is an example of Jed MacKay at his worst, Taskmaster level worst. If you ever read Taskmaster, that was a bad comic. So I'm suggesting skip this terrible comic unless you want to read a bad Charlie's Angels knockoff, because Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, is barely in this. He's maybe in it 4 pages, I think, at most. It's mostly about the Charlie's Angels in here. Next, skip it. X-Force, number 25. I can't begin to explain how bored I was reading this. I really... surfing, really. You managed to make surfing boring and dumb. Even my stepdad, who's been a surfer his whole life, thought it sucked. All right, he saw these pages and was bored to tears with it. He managed to make a sport he loves boring, and it all comes down to snatching babies and Quinn and Quire being broken up via dream telepathy. Huh? No, screw this comic. Screw X-Force 25. Kazar, Lord of the Savage Land, number 3. I can't believe the series is still going. I thought it was canceled after the first issue. Apparently there was an issue 2. Other store didn't get it. We didn't get it. So people are bad. We're destroying the Savage Land, and meat is bad, and plants are the savior. The end? This series both sucks and blows. I don't know what type of story they're telling. I think this is a Greenpeace pamphlet. Yeah, I think if you're a fan of Greenpeace, you probably enjoy Kazar, Lord of the Savage Land. It's not a good comic. It's not for the broad masses. My last skip it for the week. It's been in my top 10 sometimes. It's been a meh, but now it's jumped all the way down to a skip it. Spider-Woman, number 17. Here we go. Spider-Woman 17. I am flabbergasted at how much of a deadbeat mom Jessica Drew is. She is a legit deadbeat mom, ditching her own child multiple times to go have fun on a film set. This legit happens in this comic. Even worse, so if you haven't been paying attention to the news, there was a film shooting death on this film set with Alec Baldwin involving a gun. And so something similar to that happens in this. You see the gross negligence of firearms and stunt work on this film set that she is on in this issue, that it just makes you shake your head because it's not funny in the least. Marvel should have pulled this issue and done a rewrite, or pulled out a drawer issue they have just in case. This was bad timing and just bad taste, because what happens in this is kind of what happened on that film set. It is not good. This is a bad call and bad taste. Skip it. Jessica Drew is written horribly in this. Like I said, deadbeat mom. All right. Those are the skip-its and mez for the week of 11/17. Now, we are on to the good stuff. Yes, there is some good stuff. Those who say I hate everything, that is not true. That is just a blanket statement. I do love stuff. So, my first up for my top 10 of the week, number 10 is Dark Ages, number 3. So, initially with this comic, Dark Ages number 3, I was slowly zoning out. But thankfully, Dr. Doom came in and saved this comic. There's a kid's birthday party at the beginning of this with Gabby showing up, but just my urge to kill was slowly arising. I hate redundant characters, and Gabby is a redundant character, and it gets on my nerves. But Dr. Doom comes in midpoint in this comic and saves it. So while the heroes are titular quote unquote heroes who are still alive, they're trying to come up with a plan to take down Apocalypse. They're just going back and forth. Dr. Doom is just in these pages saying tick, 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 like a clock, showing how all these leftover superhero jackasses are wasting their time, and he calls them out on it. It's perfect. Dr. Doom is written so perfectly by Tom Taylor in this comic. I loved it. There are some interesting twists, and I'm curious to see where it leads to next. I have an idea where. I hope I'm wrong, but all I know is I want more Dr. Doom written by Tom Taylor. He is written to a T in Dark Ages #3. Loved it. Next up is Blue and Gold, number 4 of 8. This was a lot of fun, and I was laughing my butt off the whole time. So if you're of a certain age, probably between the ages of 35 and 50, and love the 80s, the Bwahaha League, you will love this comic. Kevin McGuire's art, Dan Jurgens' art, and the story is great because we get different perspectives of how a certain event went down, and then we get my boy popping up at the end. I love it. Love it. Strong recommend. This series has been a lot of fun. Blue and Gold, number 4 from DC Comics. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. You cannot go wrong with this. This is how you tell fun stories. Next up, Moon Knight, number 5. See here, we got the awesome Arthur Adams cover here. So this issue was interesting. It was a combo of both a psychological study of Mark Spector as a Jewish man and his religious beliefs as well. And there's also a mystery involving a missing character and the intro of a new villain. Yes, Moon Knight, number 5 is a key. Yes, intro of a new villain at the very end. I had to check it out. This is a new villain. And Moon Knight, in this issue, Moon Knight is given 2 options from this character. What does he do? Read it and find out. There's a lot of good stuff in this issue of Moon Knight number 5. It's an interesting character study of Moon Knight, and it's a great suspense thriller as well. Highly recommend. Next up, my top 10 is King the Conqueror, number 4. So this issue, I call it the butterfly effect issue. If you ever saw the Ashton Kutcher movie, you'll know what I mean. I call this the butterfly effect issue. King the Conqueror, number 4. It's good, but you know where it's going if you have a working brain. However, Carlos Magno's art is still phenomenal, and what King is proposing at the very end of this issue, it gets even more interesting. It gets very interesting. Recommend King number 4. This is a good issue, despite the fact having seen the Butterfly Effect. But if you haven't seen it, you may think it's original and kick-ass. But you know where it's going if you've seen that movie. Next up, Primordial, number 3. So from Jeff Lemire from Image Comics, the mystery only gets deeper and stranger. Where we're left at the end raises even more questions. Yes, even more questions are raised at the end of this issue. You really feel for these animals, and I really hope they make it out of this place that they're in one piece. And in this issue, you kind of get the perspective of one of the monkeys in this, how he was found and more or less captured. But yeah, it's a very good issue. It's not as emotionally impactful as the previous issue was, but it's still damn good. It's still good and a damn good mystery, and I really want to know where this is headed. And so we're up to my top 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my number 5 pick of the week. That is Suicide Squad, number 9 from DC Comics. This was good and fun. Loved it. Not the best one, not the worst, but it is solid good, solid fun, solid action. And a lot more questions about some mysterious new characters are brought into this. There's a lot of questions being raised. And the art is solid once again. Now that a certain winged alien race is involved, it's getting even more interesting. I love it. I love where this is headed. This is a great team. No Harley Quinn is fantastic. High recommend. Suicide Squad, number 9. Cannot go wrong. And you got Ambush Bug. Or as I call it, the funny version of Deadpool. And next up, number 4 for the week. Shocker. Genis Vell, number 1, Marvel Comics. So what is Genis Vell, number 1? Well, dear listeners and viewers, this collects issues 0 through 3 from the Peter David Genis Vell Marvel run from 1999. Yeah, Peter David. When I say Peter David, quality should be associated with that name. The dialogue and storytelling is amazing, and the art is breathtaking. Sci-fi, fantasy, action with great humor and art. Hey kids, want to know what Marvel was like when it was still good? Check out Gen S Vel. This collects issues 0 through 3. It is worth every damn cent. It is fantastic. I'm going to be reading this again when I go home because I love this so much. Once again, Peter David, you cannot go wrong. And the top 3, here we go. It's going to be the number 3 pick of the week. Number 3 for the week is Legends of the Dark Knigget, number 7. Okay, so the last few issues had lost me. Then it totally redeemed itself. I loved this comic. This is a prime example of a fun and action-packed Batman comic with Batman in it. This is what DC needs to get back to. Did I say I love this? I loved this comic, Legends of the Dark Knight number 7. The art by Mostert is good. It's eerily similar to Frank Quitely's art, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. His art is so detailed and action-centered. I loved it. These are some of the pages drawn in here. Beautiful. I really wanted to see if I can get some of these pages if they're available at a decent price. This is a strong recommend. Cannot recommend this enough. Legends of the Dark Knight number 7 is a great jumping on point. Number 2 pick of the week is going to be Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 3. Once again, this was damn good. All 3 issues so far have been damn good. The art, dialogue, the pacing, perfect. And this is really a testament to how good Willingham is. He doesn't need to create 10 different BS characters for his story. He uses what he has from the massive rogues gallery Batman already has. He pulls out a villain here I haven't seen since maybe the New 52, I think, maybe. If it wasn't then, it was the Batman 66 TV show. Yes, he pulls out one of those villains and uses them perfectly in his book. It is awesome. It shows you how creative and talented Bill Willingham is compared to certain other soon-to-be former Batman writers. I cannot wait for the next issue. This was a lot of fun. Love this series. Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 3. This is a prime example. These 2 right here, Legends of the Dark Knight, number 7, and Batman versus Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham, number 3, are 2 examples of DC doing Batman right. This is how you do it. And lastly, my pick of the week is Space Bastards, number 9, from Humanoids. So Sean and I have made no qualms about it. Neither has Kyle. This is one of our favorite series of the year. And at the end of this issue and the story arc, I want more. I love these characters. They're so flipping great. They're so colorful, well written, and different. You can't help but want to explore this universe more. And of course, Derek Robertson knocks it out of the park with his art. It is perfect. If you're going to read it for one character of Space Bastards, it's going to be Zordak. Zordak goes full beast mode in this issue. I love it. It's a strong recommend. It is fun, over the top, violent, offensive, tasteless, disgusting, and offensive. I love it. Space Bastards number 9, pick of the week. Cannot go wrong. So there you have it, guys. 33 minutes. Me going Han Solo. So this was my picks, Skippets, and Mez. What did you guys think? Was I right? Was I wrong? Was I a little harsh? Were these comics as boring as I said they were? You got to let me know. I personally, if I'm writing a comic or reading a comic, if people are just sitting around talking, I get bored to tears. I'm sorry. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. It's down there somewhere, usually, most of the times. And be sure when you do type in that like number, you say why you liked it, why you didn't. So that way you're eligible for the giveaways. Now, granted, these are my picks, my books. So I don't know if Sean will put these available for the giveaway. If not, we got in some cool slabs. Maybe he'll put in one of the slabs we just got in for the giveaway. But please be sure to type in the comments, guys. And we will see you guys again sometime very soon. Maybe this weekend, if not this weekend, next week. But and as Sean would normally say, buy what you like, collect what you want, don't listen to the haters, and we'll see you guys again next time.